Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
Welcome back to another episode of That's Not the Finish. So for today's episode, we're going to be talking about, is WWE really genuine with the supposed changes that they're going to be making? So before we get all into this, I just wanted to let you guys know that if you really are into indie wrestling and want to watch endless hours of indie wrestling from different promotions, be sure to check out Powerslam.tv and use the promo code NOTTHEFINISH to get a free month off of your subscription. Also, be sure to check out our Pick'em giveaway contest with Wilford Watches podcast that we're going to be doing for WrestleMania 13. If you want to win some really awesome New Japan items that I got from Tokyo, be sure to check out our Pick'em contest with Wilford Watches podcast on social media to learn more about it. So with that, we're going to get into our episode today. So what do you guys think? Is WWE really genuine about what they said during the shake-up, quote-unquote, that Vince McMahon had going on WWE Raw just this past Monday?
I'll go in here. I can't really say, which it's always early to tell. But I mean, the fact they came out here and they say, "Oh, we're gonna start a whole new Raw, new everything," and then follow that by having the same exact matchup that they had on TLC last night. It's not the greatest way to start off, like your set of changes and stuff. So, I mean, we'll see what direction they're going to go in, but it's going to take a while for us to actually get somewhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
think, yeah. So I think they took some steps in getting there. I mean, what they did to the Revival the last couple of weeks, I mean, was not good. So, I mean, that's one way you could look at it, but it'll take a couple months, like Dom said, to kind of see everything come into the full picture. So,
well, what they did with the Revival, I think, was like a step in the right direction, apparently, because a lot of people were actually, they wanted to see the Revival get pushed. They wanted to see something happen with the Revival because they are a great tag team and people do, really support them. The problem was that they just weren't using them. They were just kind of giving them some title shots here, but then they didn't really get anywhere with that, and then for a while they weren't really getting anywhere. So having them actually pick up the win, in this past Fatal 4-Way match that they had with AOP, the B Team, and also Lucha House Party, I think was a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's one small example, but I mean, do we really know that was directed as part of the changes though? I mean, are they actually going to give Revival the championship? I mean, they have given Revival shots before. Now, if they actually give the Revival the titles, then it'll be at least a better step towards the genuineness of the announcement.
Yeah, I think that's really just that we have to see what's going to happen. And I mean, were they planning this from the get-go? Were they really going to have the Revival win the championships? Or, eventually, or was this really their time, or was this actually something that they were doing because they were seeing what people were complaining about on social media? What do you think about that, Dave?
I mean, I could see it where they were in panic, and I mean, that whole thing with AOP and the Drake Maverick thing was just ridiculous. I mean, but I think WWE did this to appeal to the hardcore fan.
Yeah.
I think it's something that they, correct at this moment, at this time, and just give them something, cheer about.
True. I was seeing on social media that a lot of people were, some were expecting more of a change, more right away, and then some people were kind of giving WWE a little bit more time, saying this was their first night with this whole big change, so why not just give them a little bit more time? And I kind of agree with that. I do kind of agree with that. But at the same time, I think that Raw could have been a bit better, don't you think? I mean, unless
So,
if you, yeah.
I thought it was a pretty decent Raw, honestly. I mean, it had quite a few decent matches on there. I mean, yes, it obviously wasn't like incredible compared to like what an incredible Raw should be, but I mean, it had a few decent matches on there. It wasn't like oversaturated with bad promos.
Hmm.
Overall, I thought it was like pretty solid.
Tyler Breeze got another title match. I mean, I think last Wednesday at NXT he faced Ricochet and got a NXT North American title match. So Ambrose was like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty cool."
Well, that's the other thing too with Tyler Breeze is I heard about his match with Ricochet back on NXT, and a lot of people were like saying to Tyler Breeze, "You should really just stay in NXT because here you are appreciated, and here you're seen at, at a higher peak of a level." Because I remember when he was going up against Dean Ambrose, it was just, it wasn't a jobber match, but it just, I feel like they just like weren't really having Breeze like on the same level as Dean at all, like at least like even giving him back like a bit of a fight. Like I remember like when he hit him with the beauty shot, Dean Ambrose just kind of was like a little bit rocked, but like in no way in shape or form like phased him at all. So I feel like they still were like really using him up to that same potential that he really could have been used at, like as compared to like when he was on NXT.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of just like they were giving him the offense. It's just that they had the offense not like affecting Dean at all, which was like the main issue. I mean, granted, just giving Tyler Breeze a match on Raw on its own was
Like
still
a step in the
a
right
major
direction.
step up. Yes.
Yeah, no, totally. It was definitely like different to really see Tyler Breeze back on Raw and actually like getting a match instead of just like drifting around. And I actually remember seeing a tweet out from Zack Ryder saying like, "Oh, does this mean that during the shakeup that I'm going to be finally getting a match?" And it was actually kind of really funny because he wasn't the one getting the match; it was Tyler Breeze that was. But that guy also hasn't had a match in a long time, and a lot of people do also like him too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of underused like
Talent.
wrestlers that are on the roster right now, and that hopefully this is gonna give them the chance to do stuff.
So
I mean, you have him, you have Kurt Hawkins, who they're really underutilizing,
Oh yeah.
and there's all kinds of like mid card wrestlers that are just sitting in the back doing nothing when they could be out there killing it in a match.
So like how? Oh, sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Kurt Hawkins on some like major losing streak right now?
Well,
He's like a really bad losing streak.
is like the longest losing streak in history, which is just like a major waste of him, in my opinion.
But
It's crazy.
at the same time, it's almost like his gimmick. It's like is it a good gimmick? No, it's a horrible gimmick.
Granted, they did take the time out and give him a gimmick, if you want to call it that. But still, like Kurt Hawkins is an amazing wrestler, and he puts on great matches, and it's just sad to see like this is what they're doing with him.
Now here's another thing that I actually also kind of noticed from another more relative of a wrestler, a jobber wrestler here, with Heath Slater. Now Heath Slater, he won a match, like, and it's really rare to see him win a match, but it was against Rhino, and it was Rhino's time to retire, and it was time for him to. I don't know if he's officially retired or not. I was hearing that he originally I heard that was his final match, like period, that he was retired. But then I was hearing that he was actually saying that was not his retirement match, that he is still going to wrestle, maybe not in WWE, or maybe he's going to have a different role in WWE, but he's in no way, shape or form actually going to retire yet. But the thing though is, after Heath Slater actually picked up that win, I was wondering what they were going to do with him. And then they had him in the Baron Corbin storyline where he was a special guest referee and he, rebelled against Baron Corbin at TLC, and then he was also the special guest referee on Raw for the basically that like one-on-one match that Corbin went up against Angle in
The
and
same
which
exact
basically
match
became
we had
a,
on TLC.
a handicap match. But
Exactly.
yeah, so the question here is, do you think that now it's Heath's turn to actually start getting maybe not like a big push, but a bit of a push, and then kind of see where that goes?
I mean, I think he's been deserving of a push since he's been around. Like he's always.
Dom, I remember that you said that you actually like Heath Slater.
Yeah, Heath Slater's a great. Like he's hilarious. Like he cuts some great promos. He's not the greatest in ring, but he can put on a good match. I mean, he's definitely got something there. And again, that's another one that they just like kind of just throw off and do whatever they want with.
He's got some untapped potential there. I mean, I can see it. I mean,
Yeah, definitely. I
really don't think they're actually gonna like push, like give him a huge push. But I think they will keep him around in the mid card more so than others that are in the mid card right now.
Yeah, and maybe have him like win a couple of matches here and there, whatnot.
Yeah.
The thing with what Heath Slater actually had originally was a stable, and that was called 3M, 3-man band, 3MB, and it was with Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre, and look at where those two guys are now. With McIntyre, he's like above the mid card right now, not exactly like in Universal title range, but maybe like almost Intercontinental.
He's peaking. He's like peeking his head into that range.
Yeah, he's starting to peak. And then you had Jinder Mahal, who was actually at the top there for a little bit, and then he kind of just is dwindling now in the mid card. But he is like in the he's actually like a little bit more high, I guess like in the high mid card, a bit like he's a bit of a threat, but he's not like a huge threat
to their standard. I mean, personally, I don't think he should be there. I mean, he stands a better chance than him in my opinion, but.
You guys don't like
the one who's in charge.
You don't like the Shanti gimmick?
The Shanti gimmick, like actually, I thought that they were starting to turn him into a face when they started doing that because he just seemed like I don't know, like his gimmick there was kind of being like a meditation guru or something along those lines, and I don't know, it's just not him. It's actually kind of just trying to prey upon like a stereotype again with WWE, which is what they always try to do, and before. They were kind of using his culture. Like, I don't see a problem with WWE using their culture. Like, the culture is fine. But when they start trying, like, to make a joke out of it, it's just not good. And it's not like back, like, during the 1980s or 1970s when that was different. Now it's, like, really used to hell. So when they were actually having him come out, like, oh, I'm the modern-day Maharaja, and using, like, kind of Indian terminology that a lot of people didn't know about, it was really kind of different in that sense, and just kind of using like a country that WWE never really had in any of its storylines before. But now what they're kind of doing here is just having him go around saying Shanti to like try to get people to calm down, and it's almost like kind of like one of those really like sarcastic or like cocky gimmicks that they used to have, such as the one with like Simon Dean, like where he was like a fitness guru and he used to like call people fat and stuff, or like something like or like with Bo Dallas when he was like a motivational speaker. Now it's just kind of feeling like one of those things.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's they're just using him as a joke at this point. But I mean, if he gets back to where he needs to get to, I think he could be mid Carter at most, but.
Yeah, I could kind of see that, but with Heath Slater, I think it's just that he spent so much damn time in the company that now they're finally starting to say, okay, maybe we should start giving him a bit of a push now, or at least try to do something with him. Maybe not put a belt on him, but maybe at least make him a bit more relevant. Now the thing here with, but now like kind of like moving on here with, just like how long would you really give the WWE exactly to? Like really kind of showcase like what they're really doing here with the talent. Like, are they really being genuine or so? Like, when do you think that you could really tell if they were really making do on their promise?
You have Royal Rumble coming up this week. That's going to be a huge, huge chance for them to prove themselves in there. Because, I mean, they've made some really bad decisions at the Royal Rumble's past. So, I mean, if they make another one of those decisions, I think that kind of like seals their fate already as to whether they're actually deciding to move forward with these changes or just stay the same. But I mean, if they do the right thing at the Royal Rumble, you have WrestleMania, obviously, and then I would say you have until like a few months after that with the aftermath to really see where their hearts are going and what they're gonna do. This
Yeah,
is the perfect time.
I could see this being, starting with the Rumble, then up until I think Elimination Chamber, I think, and then WrestleMania. So I mean, and then kind of build it up, and then I think WrestleMania would probably be the point where we would actually see, okay, this is where the talent's at, this is where the matches are, critique it from there, and then the aftermath's always important. I mean, the Raw after WrestleMania is always crazy, so I mean.
So, well, here's the other thing too, because you did bring up Mania. So there's been like a lot of talk about like this upcoming Mania, because like what Dom also said, I think that this Mania here is going to really make or break WWE, especially for a long time, especially with viewership. Now, a lot of people are saying that they want to see some sort of main event with, with the women with the women's division. So depending on like which way WWE goes, do you think that they would still be able to put on a good WrestleMania if they didn't have the women as the main event, or do you think that it's like mandatory that they have the women main event WrestleMania?
I mean, they've been talking about this for a while now. I mean, I don't think it's gonna hurt them per se, but I mean, if they don't do it now, then they're just gonna keep hearing it and keep hearing it and keep hearing it until it happens. So I mean, I think it's something that can be. Personally, it's not a bad idea. As long as they have the right matchup, it's fine. But they really have to go all in on this one, and not just like kind of throw it in there just for the sake of throwing it in there.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate it at all, honestly. I mean, I think the rise of Ronda Rousey, I mean, she's getting better every time. Every time I see her in the ring, I mean, she is just she's getting there. And if they want to push this to where they need her in the main event of WrestleMania, I wouldn't hate it, honestly.
I mean, I feel like the way that we're going here, I think that it is going to probably happen in 2019 with the women main eventing WrestleMania. And the thing is that they have not just Ronda Rousey, but they also have Asuka, who just became the SmackDown Women's Champion, who everybody just seems to like a lot. Becky Lynch, who's incredibly hot right now, and also Charlotte Flair. Then you have some other names too that are, I mean, in my opinion, more of like the mid card on the women's roster that are actually kind of building themselves up more, like Ruby Riott, who's becoming a stronger heel. You have Natalya, who's starting to get her footing back, I would say. You have, like the rest of the Riot, Scotty Liv Morgan, and like you also have like Dakota, who was it again with Mandy Rose, her partner there? Not Dakota Kai, is it?
Sonya Deville?
Sonya Deville, yeah. I don't know why I keep mixing her up with the other one. But Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose as well. So you just kind of see like more of like a development with the different women, with the different female characters now in WWE. That I think that that's more than likely that there's going to be a main event. But there's also the whole fact there with the Universal title, and that WWE just doesn't like to give up that spot as the main event for the Universal title, especially because Brock Lesnar can basically do whatever he wants. So, I mean, like, how do you think that's, do you think that they would really sacrifice that? Or do you think that they're more than likely just going to have it, like regardless as the main event for the Universal title?
No, I mean, I wouldn't put it past. I mean, they pushed the women's to the main event, the co-main event last year. Was it that they pushed it? They waited all the way until the end to push it, to squeeze it in there instead of just throwing it on earlier. I mean, I don't think they have an issue bumping that to the main event, and they did it at TLC. They made the women's match the main event there. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's that big of a deal anymore for them to do something like that.
And then the other question is, will Brock even be champion at that point?
Yeah,
So
that's also a good point. He's facing Braun Strowman at the Royal Rumble.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's very possible that they might actually finally get the belt off of him. The other thing too that I noticed on this past episode of Raw was the NXT call-ups. They basically just announced who is going to be moving on to the main roster, but like they didn't do it how they used to do it, where it was like kind of just a lot more build-up. Or just kind of just like on the spot, like they would just have somebody like random just come out. They literally just said everybody who's going to be coming up from NXT onto the main roster, and like some of the names that are coming up there. There's Heavy Machinery, there's Lacey Evans, there's Lars Sullivan, who's already had some time to make some promos already. There's EC3, so there's some pretty cool people that are coming up from NXT, but some of the complaints I actually heard about this was that that a lot of people just didn't like that they just did it all at once, that they kind of liked the whole element of surprise that WWE was taking there by having these people just come out of nowhere and appear on Raw, and then all of a sudden like, oh, they're like on the main roster. At the same time though, I have been noticing that they have been having some people debut on the main roster, like Mustafa Ali, just like on SmackDown. He just debuted out of nowhere, and I didn't think that they were going to keep him on SmackDown, but they wound up doing that. But in terms here of NXT, like, how do you guys feel about the new way of announcing the call-ups?
I'm not. I agree with the people. Like, I don't think it's a great idea. Personally, I really enjoyed like the whole element of surprise of when someone could just show up out of nowhere and it would be a complete shock. Like, just announcing it straight up kind of like sucks the fun out of like them debuting. I mean, in certain ways it works. Like the if they do have their promos of every week and say, oh, they're coming, like the Lars Sullivan thing they've been doing, that works. But just flat out saying like what they did with all the other people, oh, they're all coming eventually. That's just kind of like it doesn't really like give anything to it. It's like, all right, they're coming up, but like it's just kind of wasted like space they could be doing with something else.
Yeah, I mean, the way they announced this was, I mean, it's cool, but I mean, they could also play it off where they could, you know, each person just, surprisingly show up on any show they want.
Well, here's like, if I can just butt in for like really quickly, there was also just the build like when they used to just take people individually but build them up more, like what they were doing with Sullivan, like what they also did with Asuka before she also debuted on the main roster. They used to have if they were a big enough star on the NXT, like huge, then they used to cut promos for them and build them up before they would debut on the main roster. And then they had some that just came out of nowhere, like Bobby Roode, for example, and some other NXT superstars. But yeah, I mean, like, would you say like at least have them have a little bit of build up to, Dave? Like, would you say like some build up for them would be would have been appreciated as well, like individually though?
Yeah, I think build up would definitely help them, help the character, help them get over with the fans, and
You just cut out there for a second. Did we lose him?
I think we lost him completely there, so we'll give him a few moments to hopefully recover. But I think I'll jump in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it works different way with different people. Like certain like with Lars Sullivan, they're pushing these promos to get you excited for him every week, and that works great for him. But then you have people like EC3. Like if they just had EC3 show up out of nowhere for like an open challenge, I think people would lose their shit.
Oh yeah,
and that like he doesn't need like the promotion in the build up for weeks.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
I think
also
he's
the
a good
fact
way
that
to
they
go.
announced that he's coming to the main roster kind of sucked a little bit out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like him and also with Lacey Evans too. Their personas are kind of like just like really thick, really heavy. So
Mhm.
I feel like having them like debut just out of nowhere and just start like kind of pushing people around would have been just a lot more impactful and a lot more like savory in a sense. Because I remember when
Yeah.
Bobby Roode premiered on SmackDown, and like when the lights went out, when what I almost said Damien Sando, when oh my God, what the hell is his name? The Rusev's former right hand man. What the hell was his name
In
again?
English.
Yeah. English. Yeah, I remember him now. But yeah, like I just like he hasn't been like freaking relevant like for a long for like a little couple of weeks now, and that was like names like slipping through my mind. But yeah, I remember like when he was like in the middle of like singing, and then all of a sudden like the lights cut out, and then Bobby Roode's music just started hitting, and then everybody was like, "Holy shit, here he is!"
Yeah.
And then like people like were just going crazy. So
Hmm.
yeah, like I like really kind of like that build up with that, and
Yeah.
just kind of like just coming out of nowhere. The like the thing though with how like they're doing the call ups right now, it's just like, oh, here's everybody at once. But what I was thinking was, they announced who's coming up, but you don't know when they're going to be coming. That's the other thing that you have to
Yeah.
think about.
I mean, it could. Yes, you're right. It could happen at any time. So there is still the slight element of surprise, but it's at the same time, it's like if you're gonna announce they're coming, just bring them like right away. For the most part, I mean, it's kind of like a half tease. It's like, oh, he's gonna come, but now like there's no other information on it right now. We're just gonna have to. You're just gonna sit and wait on that one.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like it's like you're kind of giving them the heads up, but at the same time, you still don't know like when the exact day is going to be, and that's what kind of makes it interesting. At the same time, um, but like then you have like kind of like also like just like another like quick little point here that I want to get into was then you have some people that like from 205 Live like Mustafa Ali. Like how come you think Mustafa Ali got onto SmackDown?
uh, I don't, I don't know what they're reasoning for, but for me, I think it was one of the greatest fucking moves that they could have done. Mustafa Ali has been an incredible performer ever since he stepped foot in in WWE in 205 Live. From his first match that I saw him in, I was just completely blown away with him, and I was like, "Damn, this guy is like they really need to do something with him." And it was a shame because like they didn't do too much with him in 205 Live for a bit, and then he started to pick up steam, and then they gave him the match at WrestleMania, and I think that might have been the moment where they realized, oh, damn, we actually have something with this guy, and I think that finally hit them completely, and like we shouldn't just be limiting him to 205, and we should branch him out and see what he can do. And I think he's really gonna.
Like he's really
Uh,
going to be like a good asset to the to SmackDown Live.
yeah,
The thing here with Mustafa is did you did you kind of feel like maybe he's just kind of a special like exception in a sense for 205 Live because like because normally guys from 205 Live like, they don't move up to the main roster. They don't really go to the main roster too often. With Mustafa though, was he just like that like this great competitor that they just needed to get him on the main roster in a sense?
uh, I think in a way, yes. I mean, it might have been also like, all right, they were using him for one of the storylines they had going on TV, and they're like, oh wait, we can actually cross this over into a major storyline instead, and it just worked out. I think yes, they did pick him. I don't think that we're gonna see too many other people getting like the same treatment as that. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big fan I mean, I do like that they have to give the cruiserweights their own time and their own all that stuff. But also, I do feel like they're kind of limited in what they can do because they're only facing each other. Like, I would like to see some of the other 205 Live guys get a chance on the main roster
Yeah,
and not
exactly.
just keep it segregated.
Like Dave, like what do you think of like the whole Mustafa Ali move up, along with also, like the other 205 Live guys coming on? Do you think that they like which 205 Live guys do you think would also fit well on the main roster?
Yeah, Mustafa. I think he was I think he was known as the heart of the 205 Live roster at one point. I think he's done as much as he could on the roster, so I think calling up the SmackDown is probably a smart move. Other talent that would be good. I mean, the current champion's pretty good right now, Buddy Murphy. He's super talented. I mean, that guy, I think, was a former NXT tag team champion
What would
at
you
one
think of
point.
having Drew Gallagher on?
Drew Gallagher, that guy's good. Yeah, he's another one that I think would be a really good heel on any show.
Yeah, definitely. A
I
little
mean,
fun side note here about Mustafa. I actually was calling him Mufasa, and when you called him like the heart of the NXT roster, I don't. Sorry, not the heart of the 205 Live roster. I was like, oh my
Mhm.
god, that just sounds so Lion Kingish too.
Yeah.
I was like calling him Mufasa like the longest time too. I was like, Mufasa Ali, and then like someone like just like on like when I heard his like, when I actually said his name was like Mustafa, I was like, oh god damn it, I wish his name was Mufasa. Like I have the heart of a lion. And then like his arch enemy could be like Scar, like the Scar, and it's like a guy like dressed up like Scar. He drops him off of a steel cage.
Get the whole outfit going.
He basically has like that little scene like reenacted where he's just like dangling off the cage and then
Oh man.
oh yeah. So just like to close off this little snippet here of our show. So like what would you say are some things that should be done or can be done to make the product better? Your top five, like 3, 5, or just how many you think? What do you think can be done to make the product better?
personally, I think one, they need to cut Raw back down to 2 hours. I mean, yes, it's nice. 3 hours is good, but it's just not necessary. Or if they're gonna keep it at 3 hours, lengthen the time of the matches. Give us more match time and cut down the amount of times that we get the amount of promo time. Like we're watching. Yes, we do care about storyline as well, but we want to see matches. We want to be able to see a good 30-minute match on Raw and like a couple of good like chances for the superstars to shine. I think that's one like major thing that needs to be done to change.
Yeah, and just to add to that, so we also want longer matches with good storyline. We also want a payoff as well. I mean, we've seen so many times WWE just give us matches and then there's no payoff. It's just like flat. So if it's gonna be a blood feud, if it's gonna be a rivalry going on for months, I want a payoff. Give me a payoff.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, like storylines that just are more interesting and just like really kind of pull you in more, in a sense.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I also do agree with Raw being 2 hours, or at least making at least having more wrestling instead of more commercials. And I watch Raw with my family, and because it's just like what else are you gonna do on a Monday night? So I watch it with my family, and like we've been watching this for like years, and my parents, like both my mom and my dad, both agree they just can't stand Raw anymore, and it's because of the damn commercials, and it's because of the promo pitches. And my mom literally said, "There's more like promotional stuff here than actual wrestling." And I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Well, yeah, like every commercial break they come back from, they show you exactly what happened 2 minutes ago. It's like Come on, I just saw that 2 seconds ago. You don't need to show me that again.
It's like a
Like,
recap.
Oh, yeah,
recap
totally,
after
and
recap,
it's
and it's just the amount of time that's wasted on that show that could be put to good use is just ridiculous.
yeah, I know, and it's a real pain in the ass to really, sit through a match that, especially something that you really want to see, and then meanwhile, they cut to commercial within like 5 minutes of actually seeing the match. Now, the one thing that I kind of like about SmackDown, and well, a lot of people like more about SmackDown, is that they have that when they do a commercial, at least that they minimize the screen, minimize the
Oh, yeah,
match going on, so
they
at least you can
keep
see it
going.
while the commercial's going on, and at least they have the common courtesy to do that.
Yeah, it's like a picture-in-picture thing in the top corner, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And it's still it's still a commercial, but at least you can see it. But with Raw, they just completely cut the damn thing out, and that's just what I really just don't like about it. So I really, I agree with Dom about it being 2 hours long, or at least lengthening the matches. But here's the other thing too. When I was really into WWE, I just felt like 2 hours was just enough for it, and this is also kind of why I just favor SmackDown more. Is that there's just it just feels like the time frame is right. The 2 hours for the matches on SmackDown just feel right, and it's more like, what's the word that I'm looking for here? Like, more tolerable, because after
Yeah.
like 3 hours of Raw, I'm just like, oh Jesus, or like even in the middle of Raw, I'm just kind of like, oh my God, like this is becoming too
Well,
much.
but that's because it's not put together right. That's what I'm saying. If they put it
It
together
drags.
and do it properly, I think the 3 hours would still work. But the fact that it's just recap and promo and recap and then a 5 second match and then that's what really kills it. If they keep everything moving at a steady pace in a nice format, then I think 3 hours would still work.
Yeah, and then there are weeks where they're like constantly doing rematches in the same exact spot every week.
Yeah.
It's like it gets really annoying, and you can see it. Anyone can see
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
That's another thing like that they can work on. They could give new talent chances to shine. I mean, they book with the same. They have a huge roster. Like there's so many people that aren't being used, or being underutilized that they could be working with, but instead they're just gonna give us the same 5 people in the same 5 matches
Yep.
every week,
Yep.
and it's like you get sick of it after a while. So that's another thing that can be done to change things around.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then
Hmm.
I had another point, and now it just like slipped off my tongue. So
Snuck away from you.
if either one of you had something
Thank
else
you.
to throw in there,
I think you hit everything that I honestly wanted to say. I think that all of the suggestions that you had, basically, I also think would change Raw dramatically. I think it's just booking their talent a lot more efficiently. Booking the people that booking the right wrestlers that people want to see pushed, and just making the right matchups. And I think that they're starting to try to do that, but there's still a lot of wasted talent that they still need to get around to, or that they still
Yeah.
need to learn how to book the right way. But I feel like like they are listening a little bit more now. So I don't know. We just really have to see where it goes. I think it's just a time thing. Personally, I think it's just a time thing.
yeah,
Well, what
we'll
about
see
you,
where it
Dave?
goes.
Any comments?
Yeah. Did you guys saw SmackDown this week?
I
I
saw
did.
like just a little bit of it because I had something going on prior. But I was just hearing some talks about Paige apparently losing her GM position.
Mhm.
But is that correct? Because I heard earlier that that it apparently wasn't correct.
Yeah, so basically the show started off with Shane McMahon talking to all the talent backstage, and he brought up the idea that seeing that the McMahons are taking over, that Paige's role will be, I guess you could say, changed is the word they used. Paraphrasing, of course. She's not leaving; she's just her role is going to be changing, is what Shane said. So. But people on
Yeah.
the internet say it's, she's, fired and all this crap. It's not true. Is that true?
Good. So, that's definitely good that you clarified that and cleared that up because, when I first saw that, I was hearing all these different things that, Baron Corbin became SmackDown GM, and Paige also just lost her job and everything, and I don't know, I was just hearing a lot of weird shit.
I don't know, unless we just heard it the wrong way and everyone else just happens to be seeing something that we're just completely missing. I didn't see any point where they said Paige was leaving.
Nope.
And Paige was still there doing GM stuff, so I mean,
as far as I know, yeah.
All right, so that's basically it for.
I mean, feel free to correct us if we're wrong on Twitter and yell at us. And
yell at us, yell at me, yell at Dom, yell at. Well, you can yell at Moses. Moses ain't even here. He could take some hate.
Yeah, I'll give him some heat too.
Pin all your hate on Moses, please. Just yell at him. Say how dare you get that wrong?
All your main energy towards him.
Yes, exactly. All right, so let's do a little bit of TLC talk here. So I heard some good, some bad about the pay-per-view. I would like to get into some of the big parts of it, but. Like Dom and Dave, you both saw the pay-per-view, right? So, what were some of your favorite matches or highlights from the pay-per-view in general?
I thought overall it was actually a good pay-per-view. I mean, there was a few finishes that were kind of questionable in my opinion, but for the most part, all the matches were good. All the decisions were right for the most part. I mean. The main event was really good. These women just beat the hell out of each other, and they put on one hell of a match. And then, I mean, there was a lot of interesting stuff going on. Dave, what do you think?
Well, my takeaway. So my takeaway from the card was, I think. This card was booked very well. The pay-per-view was really good overall. I think it's one of the better events they put on for the year, in my opinion. Ronda Rousey's match with Nia Jax was tremendous. Like I said in the past, she's getting so much better in the ring right now, and if you go back and watch that match, you'll see why.
I saw it, and I have to say that she has improved a lot, and I think that the thing here is coming from the MMA world. You could see it with some other fighters who with MMA backgrounds, such as Shayna Baszler and Sonya Deville. I think that they were a little bit unsteady when they first came into the ring because it is a completely different world from MMA. But now they kind of are learning how to use their MMA skills in the style of pro wrestling, and you definitely saw that with Ronda Rousey. When she would do that step up punch move and just
that was great.
Yeah, a lot of her techniques that you see, she's combining UFC MMA type moves with pro wrestling, choreography, basically just coordinating different wrestling moves. So if anything, I feel like the combination of MMA with pro wrestling, basically just using real submission moves and stuff, or at least how to set them up, it helps make it look more authentic, a lot more authentic, because it's not just you're gonna whip out a sock puppet and call it the Cobra and then hit the guy in the mouth with it and then he falls down. We're looking at you, Santino Marella, but this here, it actually looks like you could seriously hurt somebody or do some damage at least with some of the moves.
Yeah, that was one of my main concerns with her when she came to WWE, following her MMA career. I was worried, because before she took her loss, all of her matches were so short and she would just jump on you and submit you and win it easily. And I was worried when she came to WWE, they wouldn't be able to translate her doing a 5-minute match and lasting and not putting up a fight and not finishing someone right away. And she's done a really good job of keeping herself active in the ring and making sure that it's not just a one-sided fight and what you would expect it to be. based off of how her MMA career was.
Yeah, I've heard people to build on that point that say that it's gonna take her like the long time for her to get into the system and to get working in the ring, and she picked it up really quickly, and I'm really impressed, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, she's doing more stuff in less than a year than some people have been doing for 10 years. So, I mean,
Yep.
not pointing any fingers, fellas.
Yeah, I
But
definitely have to say that the the women's matches were really great. Asuka versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte, obviously was absolutely
That-
amazing.
they just were beating the hell out of each other in that match,
Yeah.
and it was awesome.
Yeah, it was
mean,
really great.
The heart
Seeing
that all three of them showed in that match.
yeah,
was-
and what
was-
I actually heard from Mark Henry, Mark Henry actually did a article. Was actually quoted in an article saying that this match basically does prove that the women can main event WrestleMania. And yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely think so. I mean, this was a huge match here, a TLC match between three of the biggest names in women's wrestling today, and they knocked it out of the park, really.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely could feel that. Yeah, sorry, what?
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was done.
No. I was gonna say that spot where Becky jumped up the ladder and landed on Charlotte's ribs, that looked pretty stiff, honestly.
Ooh, yeah,
That
you can hear it.
That looked
Yeah.
No, that
Throw
actually
it.
looked pretty brutal.
Like, you can hear her. She cursed and she was writhing in pain, and like that definitely seemed legit.
Oof. Yeah.
Like, I thought she might have actually busted her rib there at
Yeah.
that point.
No, I was concerned.
But
Yeah,
They
so
pulled
that
through
was a
and-
pretty hard hit. Also, when Charlotte speared Asuka through the barrier, that also was
Yeah.
a pretty hard
Yeah.
hit right there.
I mean yeah.
So here's actually a interesting an interesting thing that's some people actually noticed about Ronda Rousey, because as you know, Ronda interfered in the match and was able to cost Becky the victory and actually give
Yeah.
to Asuka, and Asuka was able to come up behind and actually grab the belt from the on the ladder. So the thing here is, when Rousey came out and screwed Becky Lynch over, now as you know, like, Becky's a huge name and very popular on SmackDown,
well,
but when she comes out, she acts like a face. So would you say that this is kind of giving light to her being more of a tweener?
no. See, this was one of the issues that I had with the booking here. Is Charlotte? The whole reason Ronda came out was to screw Charlotte, but in doing so, she also screwed Becky, and it kind of messes with it, the whole thing in general. Like, Charlotte on that ladder with Asuka, and she pulled Charlotte off, then it would have worked much better. But the fact that she pushed Charlotte and Becky at the same time, it's like, oh man, now you're kind of setting up a three-way feud here,
Mhm.
which was like nowhere near what was being booked. Like, you can't expect Becky to like just not retaliate of her getting screwed from Ronda now.
Well, I think
I mean,
I think the reason she did that, if you guys remember before Survivor Series, Becky Lynch had put Ronda Rousey in the armbar in the locker room.
Yes.
Do you guys remember that?
When they invaded Raw.
oh yeah,
Right. So I think that could have been, I guess, her receipt.
yeah. I guess,
In a way.
Yeah.
you mentioned that could be part of it, but
Yeah.
I mean, again, it doesn't really fit into the storyline that they were building, because they're just building Charlotte and Charlotte and Ronda, and now they kind of just like, oh well, now I guess Becky's kind of thrown in there, and now
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of thinking in a way, like, could she potentially, because like I said, like, Becky's just so over on SmackDown. Do you think that Ronda could become more of a heel on SmackDown but more of a face on Raw? And that's what I was also thinking, like, almost like being a completely different, a completely different type of received wrestler on the two different brands.
I don't think that's
Probably
no,
not.
I don't think
that's
that's
just what I
possible
was like
for them,
briefly
for
thinking.
them to do.
but
That's
yeah.
just
Mhm.
that's a mess waiting to happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does also. I mean, if they do play it in, it could create an even better main event of not just Ronda and Charlotte, but now Ronda, Charlotte, and Becky in a triple threat match
Yeah,
at
definitely.
WrestleMania.
That's what
Wouldn't
some
hate
people
that.
were predicting.
Yeah.
And then we also had Natalia versus Ruby Riott, and how that tables match went. And I just saw Liv Morgan take a freaking spear,
Poor Liv Morgan.
and she went
That
flying.
was nasty.
Yeah, that was a bad bump. Oof, oof.
Yeah, she.
But-
I mean, it was interesting though to see, because she like didn't like it wasn't just like a fall. It was like she literally got hit and just like she literally
She
just
went
kind of, it was like in like those movie things, like where if you see like an explosion and people like kind of flying backwards, that's literally what it looked like. She was like
Yeah.
But again, that was a good match between Ruby and Natalia. They both they really told the story with that matchup. It wasn't just an actual like a blow off match. You can see the way everything that they did in that matchup, it had a purpose and it had a point, and it wasn't just another matchup.
Yeah, like the storyline, what we were going over before, like the storyline here was really solid. So these other two matches here, they're kind of like connected to each other because they're both going to share like a very similar point. So with Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles, the new Daniel Bryan, should I also add?
Sorry.
How exactly did you like receive that match? It was pretty good from what I heard.
I thought that was a great match. Also, I mean, you have two great talents that are facing each other. You should have a great match with that, and they really both did deliver with that. I mean,
Yeah, the match. Yeah, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
would have preferred to see AJ Styles go over in that match and just like have him like go back and forth a little bit more with this one. I don't know. I'm just not like, I'm not too sold on the way Daniel Bryan is finishing these matches.
Yeah, what I liked about the match was it felt kind of old school, where they were working a body part, and as the match is going through, you can see like AJ was working over Daniel Bryan's knee, and then AJ had the whole rib injury, and Daniel was working that over. So they both had it was selling those injuries pretty good, and it kind of flowed within the match. So it kind of helped add a little more realism to it.
Yeah,
and made the match a little more special than what it was. I thought it was really good, actually.
now that we've talked about it, it just made me remember why I didn't like the finish. It was that roll up that Daniel Bryan did that came out of nowhere, and it's like it just felt like such a dry finish that they were really beating the crap out of each other the whole match, and then it's just gonna end with a roll up, no guest lock or no headbutt or any kind of like special move. It's just a random
Maybe
roll up
because he's just trying not to give the people what they want to see now because he's a heel. So he's trying to, he doesn't want them to be satisfied in that sense.
Yeah.
Which could be that. But how this is related to my next point here was the Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins match. And what I heard was that people were actually chanting that this is boring, and some people were actually saying that it wasn't really a boring match exactly, but it was just the build up to it. The storylines apparently just weren't really well received, and that it was also just having this after Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles and before the main event that just really kind of made everybody turn very sour on Dean and Seth while they were performing.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, they got a bad spot, especially after that WWE Championship match. The match it had its moments. It was a slow paced match. I think the last 5 minutes it kind of picked up. The whole Dean Ambrose sticking out his fist and trying to get Seth to do the whole Shield thing again. And then last 5 minutes were really good. The action picked up, and it was okay. It wasn't great.
Yeah, I think the issue was that like for the hype that they've been building on this matchup, it didn't live up to our expectations. it didn't tell the same story that the Ruby Riott and Natalya match was able to tell.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they needed to put a little bit more into this one. And yes, the placement on the match card was unfortunate and was a major part of that.
Yeah.
But I just didn't think that Seth and Dean were giving like everything that they could have put into this match.
Well, from what I saw on Raw, it seemed that they were continuing the rivalry. So, I mean, who knows? They're probably going to have another rematch. And, I mean, who knows? There might be a special stipulation. So, hopefully they will learn from this and maybe put on a better match. But I think that what a lot of people were talking, what the discussion really was, along with also just what Vince McMahon's reception to this was that it was just very rude of them. How the crowd was reacting to this, because I mean I can understand in certain situations with certain matches if maybe the match is really just kind of dragging and everything, but from what I heard, like it wasn't exactly what people wanted, but maybe it wasn't like a terrible match. Now, like for them to just say like this is boring, it seemed like that they were kind of stepping over the line a little bit with this and kind of being disrespectful to them. In return, I mean, like they're free to voice their opinions and everything, but I feel like for two guys, like Dean and Seth, who have been around for a while, it was kind of uncalled for to really, use, to really chant that at that time.
Yeah, I mean, Dean and Seth do deserve better than that. I mean, it's not like something that they should be getting at that point in time. It's just, it was an unfortunate being in the wrong place at the wrong time situation, I think, kind of is what happened there.
And this was also like another point too that I actually brought up to you guys before was, in relation to like the men's booking versus the women's booking. It just seems that, because I see people here like, oh, women's wrestling's better. Oh, women are taking over WWE. But, is it the men's fault per se? Because it seems like people are so, quick to blame the performers themselves, but a lot of times that's it's how they're being booked, and it's the WWE themselves, is their creative team that is really at fault here. So if you want to see like better men's wrestling, then you really have to then you have to really complain about it, which people have been doing, but it's
it's also a matter of perspective. Certain
and it's
people
also perspective as well
in different things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people are interested in death matches, some people are interested in it. Like each person has their own like specific interest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
You can't appeal everyone in one shot. So
yeah, like some people are going to tune in to watch Becky versus Charlotte versus Asuka more, and then some people might want to watch Daniel Bryan versus AJ. It's really just whoever thinks whoever thinks that the performers are more interesting, or whoever they would much rather see.
Yeah.
But just like kind of like in the majority here, a majority of the responses have been like, oh, this match sucks, or this match here was so much better, blah blah blah. And it's it's a matter of perspective too, but it's also just kind of the just how things are booked in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the timing, the booking. I mean, they could have told a really good story here if they wanted to, but I mean, it's just it wasn't there. I mean, if they plan on doing a rematch, I mean, I think they can definitely capitalize on this and make it better.
Yeah, hopefully they definitely will, go that route, and I mean, hopefully we'll be able to see a better performance by the two of them. Well, I mean, that was basically the bigger, I would say like the bigger points of TLC. So one last thing that I wanted to go over real fast was, I said that I've been actually getting requests from people to cover stuff other than WWE, and it's just really hard to, get past just talking about WWE, because they're just always in the news, they're always in wrestling, but we're trying to also diversify our podcast so that we're covering other indies as well. And I mean, like, we kind of have to at this point, but there was another big pay-per-view that was also over the weekend, and that was Ring of Honor Final Battle. And me and Dom actually didn't see it, but Dave actually did. And so like he's kind of similarly to when I was actually kind of directing traffic with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Dave's going to kind of direct us a bit here with Ring of Honor Final Battle. I did look up the matches, though, so I could definitely have some conversation with you about it.
Yep.
But the big one here that I think we should just get right into right away was the Elite. Actually, this was apparently the last appearance by the Elite, and that they're going to be leaving Ring of Honor completely.
Yeah. So they basically had a ladder war match, pretty much, with the Young Bucks versus the Briscoes versus SoCal Uncensored, which was Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian. So if you guys didn't see this match, it's insane.
I saw one of the, I forget which one it was. If it was either Nick or what's his brother's name again?
Matt Jackson.
Yeah, if it was Nick or Matt, take a huge dive off of the fucking ladder and just crash through the damn table, like almost like face first. And people were like, "Yeah, I think he wants his 2 front teeth for Christmas." And I was like, "Holy shit, that was so mean, but that was so right." Because the way that this kid just fell off of the freaking ladder, it was insane. But that was what I saw of it. But yeah, it was an insane match, right?
It was insane, yeah. I mean, there was color, there was so many spots in this match. I mean, you have to actually go back and just watch it, honestly. Me telling you a couple spots here doesn't do me justice. So, I mean, it was...
I've heard nothing good things about the ladder wars in the previous years, and I just haven't gotten around to watching them. And one day I'm just going to sit down and have a big marathon of all the ladder war matches and catch up. But... that's something that I need to get on.
There was also I've been hearing a lot about the Ring of Honor TV champion Jeff Cobb, and what is the deal with him? Like, what exactly makes him so special?
So Jeff Cobb was, I don't know if you remember watching Lucha Underground. He's actually a character named Matanza Cueto. So that's Jeff Cobb pretty much without the mask. The first time I saw him without the mask, honestly, he was in PWG, I believe, and then I saw him show up in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He was wrestling up there with them.
And he wrestled with Jeff Cobb in New Japan.
Yes, he did.
Definitely check him out then on the network.
And then I heard he signed with Ring of Honor, and he had a pretty good match with Hangman Page for his belt. So it was pretty good. The fans were into it. I mean, the crowd was hot at Hammerstein, and he ended up
he pulled off
retaining his belt. Yeah.
So then there was also Jay Lethal taking on Cody. Now, I mean, I think I know why Cody lost this one. They're just trying to push some other talent here. But how was that match exactly with the Ring of Honor World Championship on the line?
Yeah, this match was pretty interesting because 2 years ago, Cody had made his debut with Ring of Honor, and 2 years ago he faced that same man he faced last Friday, Jay Lethal, for the belt, and that was the night where he was this indie darling. He was fresh in the indies. He was good guy and everything. Doing everything for his father under his father's name and everything. He turned heel that night. He low blow Jay Lethal and captured the belt. And now 2 years later, he faces the same guy. And the match was interesting because Brandy Rose got involved a lot in this match. She made her impact in a plethora of ways. It was interesting. But yeah, Cody ended up, tapping out to the figure 4. And Jay Lethal is still your champ.
How did Brandy get involved exactly?
I think it was Cody was distracting the ref, and Brandy just speared the hell out of Jay Lethal. It was pretty sick, actually. It was pretty sick. And then she tried again and ended up spearing Cody, and Cody took a fall, and she's outside saying, "Oh my gosh, what did I do?" And there's a couple of ref bumps in this. I mean, a couple of near falls and everything, but yeah, it was interesting. And then there was one spot actually where Jay Lethal's finisher is a lethal injection. He goes like
Yeah.
a springboard and he does the whole like cutter thing.
Yeah, I remember that from TNA.
So so Cody actually pushes Brandy at one point into the cutter, into the lethal injection, and she, oh my gosh, she sold it so well.
That's pretty intense. Wow.
It was pretty nuts. Yeah, I mean that's just some of it, but I mean,
this was something else I kind of noticed here. So in the indies and in Ring of Honor, which is more of like an upper level indie, as I like to call it, you could see some intergender combat here, or like at least when what you said here, when Brandy speared Jay Lethal, speared the crap out of him. Now you see that sometimes, like very rarely in the WWE, and like you see that maybe on the mixed match challenge stuff, but it's so like cheesy. It's like you don't really see.
They don't
it.
allow it at all.
Because they don't allow it. But here, with Ring of Honor, like you could tell by Dave's enthusiasm here. He was like, she speared the shit out of him, and you could tell, like, damn, that was a fucking hard hit.
It looked good.
And it looked good too.
Real good.
But like that's just like what I like about it too, is like you could tell like our enthusiasm when we talk about like Ring of Honor or New Japan or something. It's just like you can tell like how like we blow up at it. It's like, oh my god, like it's not just like, oh yeah, he hit him. Oh yeah, he hit him. It's like hard as fuck. It's like it's like it looks more like impactful when you see it like from New Japan Ring of Honor compared to like some of the WWE matches.
Right.
But then there was also Skull versus Christopher Daniels, and I have not seen Daniels perform in so damn long. But he was one of my favorites on TNA, one of my like top favorites too, and like I've seen Skull too, and like he's in New Japan, and he's great. Like how did those two guys fare?
Okay, so the story with this one is this was Christopher Daniels' final match under his Ring of Honor contract.
Oh shit, where is he going after this? Does he know?
I have no idea, honestly.
Well, he's been doing other shows. Like, he's not just in Ring of Honor right now. He's been doing all kinds of other stuff as well. So this is just his last match with Ring of Honor.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
He's been doing other stuff this whole time also, besides Ring of Honor.
Right. And so the whole story was that Skrull was saying, oh, you're not the performer you were before, you've lost it, you're weak, and he's giving him all this heat. And the match, it was pretty good. There was a spot in the match where Skrull does the whole breaking finger thing, and he tries to break your fingers and snaps it.
Yeah.
He did it twice, and he did a package power driver to him at one point in the match. It looked really, really, I think it landed on his neck. It looked really bad, actually. But the match was decent. It was pretty good. It wasn't something like a 5-star match, I would say, but it was good. But Marty Scurll ended up picking up the victory. Nice. And the fans were, cheering on Christopher Daniels after the match and giving him all this praise and adoration. And then what happens next? Bully Ray comes out and just low blows him while he's on the top rope as he's cheering the fans on.
Oh boy.
And
didn't that lead into a match for Bully Ray?
That exactly. That led to a match against Flip Gordon, which was no disqualification. So that guy got some massive heat, let me tell you.
It wasn't no I Quit match.
Oh, yes, I Quit match. You're right. Yes.
So Bully Ray actually quit?
He did. He did quit.
That I would never I would honestly expect him more just to pass out, like Stone Cold did. Then just say like I quit. Like he's just not the type of, or like for the ref to stop the match. Like he's not really like the type of person I would ever expect to actually quit.
Yeah, I mean you wouldn't expect that from him, but
I think he's kind of like ready to retire at the same time, so he might be ready to. I think he's starting to show his mortal side in a sense.
Yeah. Although I will say there was one part in this match where Bully Ray brought a table, and then I think Silas Young had come out and helped Bully Ray take out Flip Gordon at one point in the match, and then they actually brought out some lighter fluid.
Holy shit! Whoa, did they light anything up?
No, they doused it, but they didn't light it. They teased us, so that's as far as it went. I mean, I was like, oh shit, this is not gonna be good. But
I miss seeing the flaming tables.
Uh,
Seeing that.
I almost saw it, so it didn't happen though.
I miss seeing that. What would you say was the match of the night then?
Ooh, match of the night. The ladder war match with Young Bucks, Briscoes, and SoCal.
That's why I think that's what I've been hearing was like the match of the night. So I think you're with the majority on that one. It was definitely the top one there too. Just not to leave them out or anything, but how did the Women of Honor World Championship match go as well?
Oh yeah, that match is pretty good. It was a
That
four
one's
corner.
okay, that one was good. All right.
Yeah, it's like a four corners like survival match. So it's basically like a elimination match, pretty much. So I think the champ at the time was Sumi Sakai. What's her name? Sakai. Okay. So I think it was the last two. It was Sumi and it was Kelly Klein. Was the last two, and Kelly ended up winning and becoming the new Women of Honor champion.
All right, interesting. I mean, that's a pretty different match, especially for the women's division too. But so last point here about Final Battle that I would like to discuss. So, there was some rumors going on here about the Elite leaving potentially to start up their own brand. I also heard All Elite Wrestling could potentially become a reality. What do you think of that? Do you think that's a thing, a surefire thing, or do you think that's kind of iffy?
I mean, I've heard rumors that they've trademarked the name, so it's definitely a possibility. I mean, I think someone had posted a video, the aftermath after the whole show was over, that you're going to be seeing us again in New York City, and they kept saying that, oh, we're on to bigger and better things, and they kept playing it off like, it's going to happen real soon. So, but
these guys aren't exactly like that age where they kind of go off and start doing their own promotion. Because they're all relatively pretty young. Now, I don't know if there's like any other wrestlers out there that are relatively, young that are doing their own promotion. But I mean, these guys still have quite a lot of gas in the tank to keep going through more years in their career, it seems. So, this is a little bit strange, but it just seems like it's a business venture for them to start up their own indie.
Yeah, I think they're trying to drum up something here. I mean, it could be, something that they've been conjuring up for months now. Maybe since, the whole All In pay-per-view, maybe they're doing...
look at the success of All In. That's a great sign right there to prove it could be done, and it can easily make things work.
Yeah, even right there, that's like the first steps right there of possibly creating a bigger wrestling company that the fans want to see, that, maybe don't appreciate the WWE. Maybe they want to see something new, something different, something fresh. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, this could be something they're working on that's in the bigger picture.
Yep. All right. Yeah, it definitely seems like Final Battle was definitely the event to check out, and I'm pretty excited to check that out as well. Alrighty, so that will do it for this episode of That's Not the Finish. We'll see you next time.